Where should I live in Northport, Florida?
Pretty much anywhere, because a lot of it's a lot of it is kind of similar, but we are going to talk about in this video, there's a little nuance and some different pockets to consider, and we're getting started right now.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the area, make sure to call, text, or email me. I am a local realtor here. My information will be in the description box below.
So as we mentioned, a lot of Northport is, I'd say, somewhat similar, but there are some different areas that are quite a bit different, and there's a few things that you'll want to know about some of them because there's some risks to a few of them.
The first area or areas that you could live in Northport are the different HOA communities that are sprinkled throughout Northport. If having city utilities it's important to you, then you might want to be in an HOA, or like I know the center of Northport also provides those services. But to be sure, if those utilities are important to you, then you do want to be in a planned community.
Yeah, and there's not very many HOA communities like in what we consider to be the main Northport area. There is one area that has a lot of HOAs we'll get to later, but yeah, not a lot of opportunity for that. One other thing to consider, so to get right to the risk thing, because I'm sure that's hot on the mind, is right around here, this Myakka State River, there's kind of like a cone that goes with the river. So like imagine if the river's here, go a little wider than that, there's a little more flood risk in that area. And then as a whole, Northport, the roads have a little bit more flood risk than say like Venice, Florida, just because the infrastructure isn't set up as well. They basically plan on the roads flooding if there's a lot of water. But if you're gonna buy a home kind of in this near this warm Mineral Springs area, or anywhere along this river within, I'd say, a couple mile radius, there's a little bit more flood risk for your actual home.
Yes, but Northport, the newer construction homes and the planned community homes as well are less likely to your home to be flooded because they are built to not flood.
Yeah, and one thing to consider too is like some of the stuff over by this warm Mineral Springs area and that end of Northport, kind of on the west end over here, those are going to be a little bit of the older homes where they don't do what they do with all the newer homes where they build the lot up and then they build the house. So you are really getting rid of any risk because you're kind of living on a little hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the older part of Northport does not provide that.
Yeah, and I'd say as a whole, that's, that west end of Northport is going to be a little bit more affordable. There's a lot of shopping. I mean, basically anywhere in Northport, your 41 goes right down the middle of it. So you're never too far from shopping. So either end, that's not really a pro or a con, I would say. But the west end is going to have a little bit more of the older and maybe rougher areas, not too bad, a little bit more crime, I would say, and the houses aren't as new or as nice, but they will be more affordable.
Yes, and you might find like a newer home sprinkled in, throughout, but for the most part, they are going to be older and more affordable. If you want a newer home, then you want to be on the east end of Northport. So here you're going to have bigger lots. It's kind of like the country feel of Northport, bigger lots. Houses are also going to be a little bit bigger, newer. There's a lot of new construction going on. Builders will actually start building on vacant lots and then sell the home.
There's also the cool opportunity, we mentioned this in a few videos, that you can get multiple lots potentially. Sometimes there's a bunch of them right side by side, so maybe you could buy one and have a big yard to both sides or to one side or whatever you want to do. So it's kind of fun for that opportunity. You're not really going to get that too many other places in this area like the Venice, well, somewhat Inglewood potentially, but outside of like that, like Venice, no, probably not. Sarasota, definitely not. So Northport is very unique in that aspect. Also, one thing we should mention is all of Northport, you're going to be sending your kids to the same high school, good high school. So I think that's just one thing worth noting. But yeah, the east end, probably going to be a little bit more options for new construction.
If you want to go the planned community route and you want a new construction home, then Welland Park, it's the place to be. There is a lot of new construction going on, a lot of different communities, some gated, some non-gated, and it is great for families and retirees alike.
Yeah, and you can see on the map here, it puts you on the other side of the Myakka River, and even the ones that I would say are going to be kind of close to it are going to be on that side, the west side of 41 over here. So a lot less flood risk, plus they're building the communities with retention ponds, elevated lots, very low flood risk, I would say, overall. And it positions you a little closer to the beaches, closer to Venice, the downtown, closer to Inglewood, all that kind of stuff. So that aspect of it is intriguing and I think nice for a lot of
And
people.
it will have its own downtown, which Northport, we didn't mention, it doesn't have a downtown. So having the downtown in Welland Park, most people from Northport, that's probably the downtown that they're going to be using.
Yeah, and Northport, I mean, they have like that City Hall Center and that big grassy area, and they'll have like farmers markets and things like that. Again, anywhere you're living in actual Northport, because we kind of consider Welland Park to be its own little thing. But anywhere in actual Northport, you'll be pretty close to that downtown of Northport, if you want to call it that. I mean, there's some shops there. It's not very walkable by any means, but you know, like where the farmers market and stuff like that, it's not that far from any part of Northport.
In Welland Park, you'll have newer communities, some which are gated, some are not. The HOA varies depending on what community you're in and what amenities you have. But since this is a brand new development here in the area, homes are pricier. Resale homes and new construction homes are both pricier than in Northport. You can definitely get much more house for your money in Northport.
Yeah, and Welland Park, one other thing to consider is at this point, they're kind of like halfway into building it, so there's going to be some options potentially at this point now to get some resale homes because some of them have been there about 10 years. And then there's also options to get something that's just in the middle of being built and you can maybe be part of the process. And then one other thing I think worth noting is at one point they're going to have their own high school. And a lot of people right now that live there, they kind of associate themselves, I'd say a lot of people we know from there anywhere, more with living in Venice just because it puts you closer to Venice. So they'll do a lot of their shopping there and stuff like that because Welland Park at this point has a little bit, but not a lot.
And some of the communities are closer to Venice, like Gran Paradiso. It's very, very close to Venice. I would say Gran Paradiso and Island Walk are...
And Sarasota Memorial or National. No one ever talks about that one for some reason.
Sarasota National, it's like very, very close. So all those three communities, I think, are like the closest to Venice. I would say the newer communities like Tortuga, Wisteria, those communities are closer to Northport.
Yeah, and I would borderline say like Island Walk and all that. Like it pretty much touches the edge of like that South Venice area. And when we say Venice, just for reference on the channel, always we're basically talking South Venice, all the way, you know, all the pockets of Venice, not just Venice Island.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the area, make sure to call, text, or email me. I am a local realtor here. My information will be in the description box below.
Leave a comment with any questions you have. We'll try to get to it in a future video. Hit that like button if you found the video helpful. Subscribe and turn on all notifications to catch those newest videos. And live breezy.